For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of August 12, 2017, 29-year-old Jace Whitcomb set out from his remote camp in the Zion backcountry for a lunchtime shakeout run. He never synced his data to Strava. Despite an extensive investigation led by Ranger Taryn Sosa, involving dedicated search parties, helicopters, and K-9 units, Jace vanished without a trace. His final shoe prints disappeared abruptly at a remote cattle gate, the vast, unforgiving desert holding its secrets close. For 5 long years, his family and the small, close-knit community lived with agonizing uncertainty, a void that deepened with each passing season. Then, in August 2022, following a devastating flash flood that reshaped the desert landscape, a profound and chilling discovery was made. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Jace Whitcomb, the trail runner who disappeared into Zion's unforgiving wilderness. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Jace Whitcomb, at 29 years old, was an embodiment of the rugged spirit of the American West. A dedicated canyoneering runner, he knew the intricate network of trails and washes within the Zion backcountry like the back of his hand. His life revolved around the dramatic sandstone cliffs and hidden canyons, a landscape both breathtakingly beautiful and deceptively unforgiving. He was a familiar figure, often seen pushing his limits on the remote benchlands above dry washes, his every movement a testament to his fitness and passion for the wild. On a seemingly ordinary day, like countless others before it, Jace embarked on what he termed a lunchtime shakeout run. It was a routine he followed meticulously, a quick burst of intense activity designed to maintain his peak physical condition. He ventured into the heart of the Zion backcountry, a vast expanse of red rock and sparse vegetation where silence was often broken only by the wind or the distant call of a hawk. No one witnessed his departure, nor his journey into the increasingly remote terrain. The first indication that something was amiss arrived not with a distress signal, but with an absence. Jace's run, typically logged and shared with his community, never synced to Strava. For a man whose life was so meticulously tracked through technology and routine, this was an alarming deviation. As hours turned into a night devoid of Jace's return, the alarm escalated. An initial search party, comprising friends and local rangers, quickly mobilized. Their efforts focused on the established trails Jace was known to frequent. The search yielded a tantalizing, yet ultimately confounding, clue. Jace Whitcomb's distinctive shoe prints were found, clear and unmistakable, leading directly to a weathered cattle gate. There, abruptly, they vanished. There were no scuff marks, no signs of a struggle, no other footprints leading away, just an inexplicable cessation of his presence at that solitary point. The discovery left an immediate void of understanding, plunging the small community and Jace's family into a terrifying realm of confusion and dread. The Zion backcountry, a place of profound beauty, had inexplicably swallowed one of its most ardent admirers. The disappearance of Jace Whitcomb immediately triggered an extensive search operation, spearheaded by Ranger Taryn Sosa. Sosa possessed an intimate knowledge of the Zion backcountry, its treacherous canyons, hidden ledges, and the deceptive vastness of its terrain. Her experience, honed over years of rescues and ecological surveys, made her acutely aware of both the beauty and the inherent dangers of the park. Under her direction, a coordinated effort unfolded, involving local law enforcement, park rangers, and a growing contingent of volunteers. Ground search teams meticulously combed through the rugged landscape, navigating steep inclines and dense brush. Aerial surveys, utilizing helicopters and drones, meticulously scanned the vast expanse from above, searching for any sign of movement, any anomaly in the desolate panorama. K-9 units, specially trained for wilderness tracking, were deployed, their sensitive noses attempting to pick up Jace's scent amidst the myriad natural odors. The perplexing clue of Jace's vanished shoe prints at the cattle gate remained a central, frustrating enigma. Investigators revisited the site repeatedly, scrutinizing the dust and rock for any further indicat. Had he been picked up by a vehicle? If so, why were there no tire tracks, no additional footprints? Had he climbed the fence and simply continued on, choosing a path off the established trail? Such a deviation seemed uncharacteristic for Jace, known for his methodical approach to running and his respect for marked routes. Yet, the absence of any other explanation left a gaping hole in their understanding. The Zion landscape itself proved to be an unyielding adversary. Its sheer scale and the uniformity of its features could easily disorient even experienced outdoorsmen. A fall, an unexpected injury, or exposure to the elements could quickly become fatal in such a remote environment. Investigators also conducted exhaustive interviews with Jace's friends, family, and colleagues, meticulously constructing a profile of his life. Every lead was pursued, every relationship explored, but no indication of personal conflict, financial trouble, or any motive for foul play emerged from his known associates. Jace Whitcomb was, by all accounts, a man dedicated to his passion, without enemies or apparent secrets that might explain his sudden vanishing. As days bled into weeks, the initial intensity of the search began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of despair. Despite the exhaustive efforts, the Zion backcountry offered no further answers, only an oppressive silence that deepened the mystery. The case, alarmingly quickly, began to cool, leaving Ranger Sosa and her teams with little more than a phantom trail and a profound sense of helplessness. 5 years crawled by, each passing season further cementing the grim reality that Jace Whitcomb remained vanished. The initial, intense ground and aerial searches, once a beacon of hope, gradually diminished in frequency and scope. The vastness of Zion eventually swallowed not only Jace Whitcomb, but also the initial urgency of the search, replacing it with sporadic, less intensive efforts fueled more by lingering duty than genuine expectation. What began as a desperate plea for his return slowly morphed into a quiet, agonizing acceptance of his absence. For Jace's family, the passage of time brought no solace, only a deepening chasm of grief and unanswered questions. The community, once united in a singular purpose, saw the initial outpouring of support give way to a collective, somber resignation. Ranger Taryn Sosa, whose initial tireless efforts had defined the early weeks of the investigation, found herself revisiting the dormant files with a sense of quiet frustration. The case of Jace Whitcomb had officially entered the grim category of a cold case. Despite her intimate knowledge of the Zion backcountry and her unwavering dedication, the trail had gone utterly cold, leaving behind only the ghost of shoe prints at a cattle gate. She often reflected on the profound lack of answers, the gnawing uncertainty that plagued everyone connected to the disappearance. Without a body, or any definitive evidence of foul play, theories had been numerous but equally unsubstantiated. Some speculated he had suffered an accident, perhaps a fall into an unseen crevice, his body lost to the unforgiving terrain. Others whispered of a voluntary disappearance, though Jace's character and deep ties to his family and passion made this seem improbable. Yet there was no evidence to support either conclusion. No trace of an accident, no indication of a deliberate departure. Jace Whitcomb had simply ceased to exist within the known world, leaving behind only an inexplicable silence and the enduring mystery of his vanishing. Eli MacArthur was a man whose life was intertwined with the rugged beauty of the Zion backcountry, a rancher whose family had worked the land for generations. His days were dictated by the rhythms of his cattle, which grazed on the sparse benchlands bordering the national park. To monitor his herd and keep an eye on potential trespassers or predatory wildlife, MacArthur relied on a network of trail cameras. These unassuming devices, strapped to trees and fence posts, quietly captured images, their digital eyes recording the subtle movements of the wilderness. For years they had served their purpose, their SD cards periodically retrieved to reveal snapshots of deer, coyotes, and the occasional hiker. However, over a period of months, a subtle anomaly began to emerge. Eli MacArthur noticed that certain cameras along a particular fence line, not far from where Jace Whitcomb's footprint NTS had vanished years prior, consistently yielded empty SD card slots. At first, he dismissed it as a malfunction, perhaps a faulty card or a battery issue. But the incidents grew in frequency, developing into an undeniable pattern of missing trail camera SD cards. It was never the cameras themselves that were gone, only their memory. This was not the work of wildlife. Animals did not meticulously remove and steal digital storage. The pattern pointed to human intervention, a deliberate act of theft or concealment. The nuisance slowly transformed into a nagging concern. Who would bother to steal only the memory cards? What were they trying to hide? The sheer persistence of the activity suggested a systematic effort, not random opportunism. MacArthur, a man deeply attuned to the nuances of his land, could not shake the feeling that something was profoundly wrong. The area was remote, rarely visited by casual hikers, and the specific fence line ran through terrain that offered little in the way of natural resources to poachers. The only consistent element was the silent, unseen hand removing the digital evidence. He considered the cold case of Jace Whitcomb, a tragedy that had cast a long shadow over the region. The proximity of these repeated thefts to the last known location of the vanished runner was too unsettling to ignore. This seemingly minor pattern of missing cards, once a mere annoyance, now carried a cryptic weight, an unsettling whisper from the periphery of an unsolved mystery. It was the first tangible lead in years, a silent alarm ringing in the desolate heart of Zion. Eli MacArthur's report, initially dismissed by some as a rancher's minor grievance, landed on Ranger Taran Sosa's desk with a quiet thud that resonated far beyond its physical weight. 5 years had passed since Jace Whitcomb's disappearance, a period during which the case files had gathered dust, becoming a grim testament to an unsolved enigma. Now, the mention of a pattern of missing trail camera SD cards along a specific fence line, eerily close to where Jace's shoe prints had vanished, injected a jolt of unsettling possibility into the cold case. Sosa, accustomed to the dead ends and false hopes that plague such investigations, felt a familiar, cautious stir of renewed purpose. She pulled the Whitcomb file from storage, its contents now viewed through a dramatically different lens. The initial search had been a desperate scramble for a missing person, a search and rescue operation. This new information, however, pointed toward something more deliberate, more sinister. The systematic removal of memory cards suggested an individual actively trying to avoid detection, an ongoing presence in the very remote area where Jace had last been seen. This was no longer just a search. It was the nascent stage of a criminal investigation. Investigators began to meticulously map the locations of the missing SD cards against the original search grid for Jace Whitcomb. The overlap was undeniable, creating a new, focused geographic area of interest. Could the person responsible for the stolen cards also be connected to Jace's vanishing? The question, once unthinkable, now seemed chillingly plausible. The challenges were immense. There were no direct witnesses to the card thefts, no immediate victims beyond the stolen digital data, and the perpetrator remained unseen, a ghost operating within the vastness of the backcountry. The new investigation shifted its focus dramatically. Covert patrols were initiated in the vicinity of the fence line, rangers discreetly monitoring the area for any unusual activity. Old search data, particularly aerial photographs and ground team reports from the initial weeks, were painstakingly re-examined. What might have been overlooked as an anomaly 5 years ago now held potential significance. Every rock outcropping, every hidden alcove, every remote structure was scrutinized anew. The Zion backcountry, once a silent accomplice to Jace Whitcomb's disappearance, was now being reinterrogated, its secrets slowly being forced into the light by the persistent, if subtle, pattern of missing digital memories. The cold case had found an unexpected spark, pushing the investigation into uncharted, darker territory. The relentless sun had baked the Zion backcountry for months, but then the skies opened with a fury rarely witnessed. A flash flood, a violent and sudden torrent of water, surged through the dry washes, reshaping the landscape with its raw power. Days later, as cleanup crews began the arduous task of clearing debris from the reconfigured terrain, one team encountered an anomaly. Partially exposed by the scouring floodwaters was a stone-lined cistern, expertly capped with mortar and river rock. It was a structure clearly man-made, yet expertly camouflaged, an incongruous presence in the natural desert. The discovery of the unusual cistern prompted an immediate halt to cleanup operations. Park rangers, including Tar and Sosa, were called to the site. What they found beneath the expertly sealed cap, once pried open, was a scene of profound horror. Inside, amidst the accumulated silt and the chilling damp, were human remains. Forensic technicians quickly confirmed the identity: Jace Whitcomb. He had not merely fallen, he had been meticulously bricked into the cistern, his body concealed with a deliberate, cold precision that spoke of premeditation. Beside his remains lay his distinctive trail-running vest, and the headlamp he always carried, irrefutable evidence of his identity and the violent end he had met. But the most crucial and disturbing discovery was a small, waterproof pouch. Inside, a collection of dozens of SD cards, each meticulously labeled. These were the missing memory cards Eli MacArthur had reported along his fence line, and their contents were not random. They cataloged a chilling series of other ambush sites, meticulously documented through dates and GPS coordinates, revealing a pattern of premeditated criminal activity far broader than a single disappearance. Forensic tech Paloma Reyes arrived, her expertise immediately vital in preserving the integrity of this complex crime scene. Every stone, every grain of sand, every digital file became a critical piece of a newly unfolding, terrifying puzzle. Jace Whitcomb's 5-year disappearance was no longer a mystery. It was a murder, and the cistern was not merely his tomb, but a repository of a predator's grim trophies. Forensic tech Paloma Reyes embarked on the painstaking task of analyzing the recovered evidence, her meticulous work now central to unraveling the full extent of the horror. The cistern had been more than a grave. It was a carefully constructed archive of a predator. Each item, from Jace Whitcomb's sodden vest to his headlamp, was cataloged, but it was the cache of stolen SD cards that held the most chilling revelations. Reyes, with her specialized equipment, painstakingly extracted data from every card, even those seemingly corrupted by time and moisture. The digital files were not random images of wildlife or scenic vistas. They were a methodical, disturbing record. Each card contained photographs and GPS coordinates marking other ambush sites across the remote Zion backcountry, meticulously documented with dates. This was not the work of a lone, desperate killer, but a calculated serial predator systematically targeting individuals, perhaps for their gear, perhaps for an even darker motive. The discovery transformed Jace Whitcomb's missing person case and subsequent murder into a far more complex and terrifying investigation. The initial focus on a single tragedy expanded to encompass a pattern of premeditated criminality, suggesting other potential victims or planned attacks. Law enforcement, now with irrefutable evidence of a wider threat, redirected its resources, initiating a full-scale manhunt based on the geographical and temporal data provided by the SD cards. Ranger Tar and Sosa, standing at the edge of the recovered cistern, felt a profound, unsettling mix of emotions. There was a grim relief that Jace had finally been found, providing his family with the agonizing closure they had been denied for half a decade. But this relief was overshadowed by a crushing wave of horror at the brutal manner of his death and the chilling implications of the stolen cards. The Zion backcountry, once a sanctuary for so many, now harbored a deeper, more insidious threat. The evidence from the cistern, particularly the catalog of ambush sites, provided the critical intelligence needed to identify and pursue the individual responsible for Jace's murder and the broader pattern of predation. The investigation, no longer cold, now raced against time to prevent further tragedies. The long-term impact on the Zion community and those who cherished its trails was immediate and profound, shattering the illusion of safety in its remote wilderness. Jace Whitcomb's case been tragically resolved, but a new, more terrifying chapter of investigation had just begun.